That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I think we're all on point.
Well, that's
Tim?
good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Real Guys Snobcast. We are just a couple. There's a few of us here. There's three. What do you call three? Trio? Is that?
Yeah, there's a trio of us.
That doesn't sound as cool. We're badass motherfuckers here who love watching movies. We just sit there, look at them, and say what we think because we have every authority in the motherfucking world. How's
there
that?
are kids that listen to this, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
You're gonna edit this, right?
I do want to. I'll put beeps in it for the first time.
And by the way, it's not a trio. We now have a dog. That's also whose dog is that?
Exactly.
Is that?
That's mine
How is that
again.
thing not dead yet?
My dog?
I'm just kidding.
That's horrible.
Yeah, haven't you seen Fargo? I mean,
That's
come on.
horrible.
By the way, I'm Tim, and we've got
I'm Jay.
And I'm Nick.
Jay and Nick.
You don't get to
are both
introduce
here.
me.
Jeez, I need to stop just yelling into my mic. Okay. All right, it's like we've never done this before. Anyway, let's start off like we always do, and Nick, give us the rundown of the draft.
All right. So for
giraffe.
Spider-Man, we'll start with me. For Spider-Man, it made literally, I think, like 20 more at the most. So my total for that, with a budget of $200 million, has brought me to negative $15,100,000. Legends of Oz made like, I think, $1 million. It's awful. So for a budget of $70 million, the total for Legends of Oz, negative $62,334,000. $1 Million Arm made, I think, another like 5 or so, 5, 6, or 7, one of them, for a budget of $25 million for a total of negative $4,372,000. And I had nothing else open this weekend, so my total is negative $81,806,000, which I'm happy I'm under negative $100 million.
Well, and I also foresee Amazing Spider-Man and $1 Million Arm both balancing out in the next week to come.
For sure, $1 million Arm. I'm not positive about Spider-Man though. Spider-Man may be dead.
What's your is Transformers yours, Nick? I forget. No, Tim has Transformers. What do you have that's gonna probably shoot you into the positives?
Not much after May.
Not much. He's got nothing.
Maybe, possibly 22 Jump Street.
Oh, you have that?
Yes.
Possibly.
help.
Are you kidding me?
No,
That's gonna be,
no.
that's
What
gonna
I'm
be
getting
so
at is
well.
it's going to do well, but to put me in the positives against all these negatives.
It could make a lot of money.
It could do that, yeah. So I'm
will make a lot of money.
hopeful for that. So
The marketing on that has been so good.
that's right. And now
Oz is just reaming you in the butt right now.
yeah, I even looked online the other day more to find if my budget was wrong. Nope, it's terrible.
Nick,
70
what
million.
are you have you douged into? I just made that up. Have you looked into any of the reviews of Legends of Oz? I'm just curious.
Nope. Didn't want to get more
All right,
depressed.
well, maybe later on in the episode we'll just treat ourselves to some wonderful reviews of Legends of Oz. All right,
That's
let's
right.
continue on with
All
Jay.
right. Jay, you have Walk of Shame, which, like I said last week, is done. It's out of theaters and on demand. So for a budget of $10 million, that movie made you a final negative $10,059,199.
It's so sad. Just made $59,000.
All right,
I know.
We
Isn't it?
definitely need to look up reviews of Walk
That's
of
right.
Shame too.
For Neighbors, it made you like another, I think, 20-some this weekend. It came in, I believe, third. So on a budget of $18 million, that movie has made you a total of positive $95,626,000.
Nick,
I just gotta jump in here real quick
Yeah, go ahead.
because I just read a story recently. I think you might have posted it, Tim. Was there like some shooting recently, and they were blaming the movie Neighbors?
Yeah, I have that on our notes here for when we get to
We'll
that.
dive
So
into it later.
Yeah,
then.
it's ridiculous. I'll just
we'll talk
throw
about
that
it in a
there
little
now,
bit.
yeah.
But I was
Devil's
also going
Knots
to add.
mystery.
I was also going to add that Nick. I think if you look at Neighbors, you can guesstimate those are the numbers you're going to be making with 22 Jump Street.
Hopefully it'll get the sequel bump.
Yeah, I think you're going to be seeing a pretty clear reflection there of what Neighbors is doing.
Yeah. Okay, so Devil's Knot, once again, is just gone. I don't even know if this movie exists. So we'll skip it for now. And then we have Jay's big movie this weekend, X-Men Days of Future Past, which made $90,700,000 on its first weekend on a budget of $200 million, the second most expensive movie 20th Century Fox has ever made behind Avatar. Which it made a total of negative $109,300,000, but you'll be fine with that. So
Did you see the records that changed recently?
I did, yeah.
It's what it took fifth, or is that no? What did it take?
I think it was 5th or 6th.
Because Frozen just got bumped to like highest grossing film of all time
last year. I think it was last
passing Iron Man 3, and then this took like highest grossing Memorial Day weekend.
I think so, yeah. So your total altogether, Jay, is negative $23,733,199.
Thank goodness for Neighbors. Thank goodness.
I'm gonna be rolling in it though by the time How to Train Your Dragon 2 comes out.
That's gonna do well too. You're gonna be simpering.
And CJ, that could be that. See, and what the problem is with 22 Jump Street is for me is that opens against How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, you're so screwed.
You know,
nah.
But it should do well regardless. But we'll see.
No, he's not screwed. I think he's going to be seeing similar numbers of Neighbors. I think what happens is that those R-rated comedies have legs if they're funny.
Yeah.
People talk about it, and more people go see it the following weekend. How to Train Your Dragon is going to get the most audience up front, and then start to diminish. Mm-hmm. That's how that's.
I'll be seeing both in theaters.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
All right, so we'll cap it all off with Tim's numbers. Tim, Chef made you about $2.5 million this weekend, if I remember. So on a budget of $5 million, that movie has made you a total of only negative $1,452,000, and it's expanding again this weekend, I believe. So you should do well. Godzilla in its second weekend dipped quite a bit. It made on a budget of $160, it's now at a total of only negative $11,227,000. So I'm sure next weekend you'll be good with that. And then your new movie, the Adam Sandler comedy Blended, made its opening weekend $14,245,000 on a budget of $40 million for a total of negative $25,755,000. So if that doesn't do well, it's still not a bad. I mean,
I think it'll get around $30 million, and that's
no,
not gonna get to 40.
No, I'm looking at like 25.
Well, it's it has an A- cinema score, which should give it some good word of mouth.
Nick, you saw it, right?
Well, yeah, hold on. Your total. Let me give
let's do your total, and then let's go into it.
Your total is altogether negative $38,434,000. So you're right behind.
If we're placing this, if we're doing the place here, we've got Jay first place, Tim second place, and Nick third place. As of now, as of right now,
it's a negative race, which I think It wasn't the last season we did, but the one before that, we were just pretty much like who has the least.
Yeah, it was our first one. All three of us did together. It was our last spring one or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It was just nothing but negatives the whole time.
Yeah, I think the whole thing just ended in negatives.
What does that say about Hollywood?
That's right.
Well, let's talk about Blended then. In the spirit of negatives, let's talk about Blended.
Well, first of all, it's got a 14% rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Yeah. Negative-wise, by saying let's talk negatives, it's not going to get much negative from me because I actually thought it was a step up for Adam Sandler.
Meaning what?
From the last few he's done, like Grown Ups 2, although I liked That's My Boy, but that's just me.
What makes it a step up?
It still had Sandler's usual potty humor stuff, but not as bad. And I actually thought that the way they constructed the story of how him and Drew Barrymore ended up getting the same trip in Africa, and the way they went about things actually worked for me. And it did have some good moments, and it could have helped because the audience was working with it. So that also I think helps with a comedy, getting you in the right mindset. There was this older guy behind me just dying laughing at everything, and it just I couldn't help but just laugh with him, and I think it just helped my enjoyment. But it truly is I did enjoy it. I mean, Sandler. Yeah, and the chemistry between Sandler and Barrymore, as we've seen the other two, is always good. It was just a good step up. I just think, like I said, it just made me sad that it didn't do as well. That he has that the stigma of his movies that people now are starting to just stay away from him because this one actually is better than his past five or so.
He did
movies.
Not write this. He did not direct it. He is starring in it, and it is Happy Madison.
He hasn't ever, I don't think, directed any of his, but it seems that any movie he does with this guy, because this guy's directed a few of his, I seem to enjoy. They seem to be a bit more story-driven than just one joke, next joke, third joke.
Frank Karachi.
Yeah, like he did Click, which I love. He did
Zookeeper with Kevin James.
Oh, I'm talking about just the Sandler ones.
Waterboy.
I skipped Zookeeper, but like Waterboy. I love Waterboy. I like
Wedding
he
Singer.
did Wedding Singer. Yeah, whereas any movie he does with Dennis Duggan, they're getting worse. Like, I like Dennis Duggan in his movies in the early days, but I just feel like with Karachi, he does more of a, and it actually is a good family film too. Shockingly, yeah, it's PG-13. There are some more racier stuff in it, but I feel like a family could go see this and still enjoy it. It's a good flick.
And if no one hasn't heard of this movie, it's about after a blind date, a man and woman find themselves stuck together at a resort for families where their attractions grow as their respective kids benefit from the burgeoning relationship. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the mixed
and I'll tell
story.
you, like when I was talking earlier about the way they went about the story, we'll just do spoilers real quick for anyone, just warning you.
Nobody cares about a spoiler from Blended.
The way they went about weaving, like I said, the story of how they do it, like all the trailers made me like, really, how are they even going to end up there together when they hate each other? It seemed ridiculous, but the way they did it was so good. Yeah, like you said, they're on a blind date, they hate each other, it doesn't go well, they actually end up getting each other's debit cards back from the waitress. So he goes back to her house to give her a card and exchange cards back. And Drew Barrymore's friend is there, she's dating a guy named Richard, who was actually Dick from Dick's Sporting Goods. Mm-hmm. And she just dumped him, and they were going to go on this big trip to Africa for him, her, and it was going to be 7 altogether. So it's their 5 kids or whatever. And so basically, Adam Sandler has 3 girls, she has 2 kids, 7 people. So basically, she takes only just for her amount of people, her and her 2 kids, and he takes the tickets for the other group. So the way they end up getting there and have to share the room because they don't know that they're both doing it. But it all worked out, and like I said, it just seemed like a good way to do that if they're doing that.
So is it like they're blended together? Is that kind of...
The way they call it blended is the whole weekend at the resort in Africa is called the Africa, whatever the resort is, blended weekend for blended families. So like it's for families that have like step parents or, stuff like that to get them to come together as a family.
The title is in the movie several times.
Yeah, Terry Crews sings about it, yeah.
I would have input, but I have zero interest in the movie whatsoever.
Well, I definitely would say when it comes out on DVD, Jay, I'd give it a watch. It's a good... It's actually 2 hours long, but it's a good 2 hours that I don't think you'll be upset about.
What about... All right, so we know Drew Barrymore, Sandler work together. Is it comparable to something like 50 First Dates?
It's comparable, yeah, but I still would put 50 First Dates higher. One thing I love they did in this is they brought back 2 characters, one that was in 50 First Dates and one that was in Wedding Singer, into this movie as a cameo. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you've seen the other 2, but in the very beginning of this movie, Adam Sandler is at a convenience store, and there's a guy at the counter buying stuff named Tom.
Why are we spoiling this right now?
Because it's fun. And what I'm getting at is they have these cameos from characters from those 2 movies instead of just...
Right, it's his friends. I mean, Adam Sandler...
Well, what I mean is it's not just his friends. They're playing those characters. Okay. And I thought it was a cool way to, keep that... It's kind of like interweaving the world of those 3 Sandler Barrymore movies. And it's just a fun little moment.
They just need to do The Wedding Singer 2 with Steve Buscemi. That's all they need.
Exactly.
No.
So what's funny is Steve Buscemi's brother is in this. And he looks exactly like him because it showed him and I went, oh, Steve Buscemi. Oh, wait a minute, that's not him. That guy's a lot creepier than Buscemi, if you can believe that. And during the credits, I kept thinking that's got to be his brother. There's no way they got someone that looks that much like Buscemi. And I didn't even know his brother did movies or anything.
Well, so you're saying this is a family-oriented movie altogether?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right. Well, the only reason I asked that is because I want to talk about Chef. That's the film that I saw. Well, of course, it was the Jon Favreau written and directed film. Jon Favreau, of course, from the Iron Man fame franchise, directing those. And, this is recalling back, obviously that's where he got his fame from the Iron Man. But really, if you're a true movie buff, that goes back to movies like Swingers from Jon Favreau. And now we've got another similar movie that's toning it way down that we're so used to seeing from him in the blockbuster universe. This is more of a quieted down indie movie. I call it indie. It's still studio movie, but it was made for, what was the budget on that movie again? $5 million? Yeah,
yes.
$5 million, and it shows. But with that said, that's not a bad thing. It's not.
Plus,
a
you
bad
got the
thing.
poster that just screams indie.
Yeah, I mean, you got
for
like
it.
the drawings mixed in with the real people on the poster. I mean, that's always very using yellow and orange and yeah.
Well,
it's just
and you've
Sundance
got John Leguizamo, which
John
just screams
Leguizamo,
indie.
yeah, yeah. No,
But yeah, I wanted to see it. The theater nearby is playing it. I wanted to hear your thoughts.
It was
on
funny because I was just looking to see what movies I wanted to go and see, and of course I did want to see Chef, but I didn't think it was ever going to open up near me. And it was actually in 2 theaters by me. So I was, on one hand, I was like, yes, I get to see it. But on another hand, on a draft-related level, I was like, yes, that means it's opening up in more theaters. So, you know, if no one's seen Chef, it's, of course, about Jon Favreau, who plays a chef who loses his restaurant job, starts up a food truck in effort to reclaim his creative promise while piecing back together his estranged family. So, you know, he's a full-time chef working in a restaurant who loves to cook. I mean, ultimately, his passion is cooking, and he's got so much creativity for it. Unfortunately, because he does that, he doesn't have a lot of time to spend with his son, who is just now, you know, preteen, growing older, and obviously he wants to spend time with his dad before it's not cool to spend time with your dad. So Dustin Hoffman is in this. He plays the restaurant owner. And there's all these little cameos here and there that you'll recognize. And, of course, Sofia Vergara from Modern Family, she's in it, plays his wife. And John Leguizamo, like we said. And it's a very well-rounded cast, very fun movie. And it is rated R, but honestly, it's more of a family movie. It is a good, feel-good type movie where instead of it, and the only reason why it's R is because of the language in the kitchen. I mean, I heard an interview with Jon Favreau talking about why it is rated R, and he was saying, you know, he wanted it to feel real. His indie movies and, you know, movies that he's writing and directing and on top of that acting in, he wanted it to have a very relatable factor to it and something that families can look at and go and identify with somebody on the screen. And in fact, the language in the kitchen seems very real. Like if you ever went to a restaurant where it was just big chefs in there, not like big, but not like big guys, but, you know, chefs that are doing their job. I mean, you can imagine any job, really. You can imagine where, you know, it's a lot of adult talk in there and your fuck is thrown around a few times and things of that nature. But that is the reason why it is R. There's nothing else about it that screams like, hey, this deserves an R rating. But really, Chef, fun movie. If there was any downside to it, I would just say that Chef doesn't really have any... there's no huge complication in the movie. There's no, I don't know. There's nothing that you ever feel truly bad for any one character. There's not a lot that the lead character has to regain other than his own pride. And of course, in there's a relationship with his son that he's working on strengthening. But other than that, I mean, it's just a feel-good type movie. So don't expect it to get too far down before it goes back up again, because that's not what this is. But all in all, yes, Chef, it's doing well in terms of the critics and the ratings. So I'd say go see it. And it's no more than what the trailer says it is. And if you want some time to kill, or you know, maybe you're wanting a night out with the fam, go ahead, go see it. It's a fun movie, and I want to see Jon Favreau make more of these lower budget type movies. Iron Man's great, but I'd love to see more of the indie flicks.
I have a question. You know, he did so well with the first Iron Man and okay with the second one. I still enjoyed it, but you know, he did Iron Man, he did Chef. Would it be possible he's just all gearing us up for his next movie, Iron Chef?
How long have you been waiting to do that joke?
I was just waiting for you to finish.
I was gonna say. It's a good rant.
I did hear something about Iron Chef. Funny enough, this is while we're on that topic. Of course, you know who makes a cameo in this movie, right? Iron Man himself.
Yeah,
I heard
thought
that. Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is in it, and everyone's
it's a
a little
cameo. I thought he was like fully like in the movie.
No. I mean, he's in it, but it's more of a cameo position and role in the movie. It's not like, oh, he's in it throughout the entire thing. The trailer likes to make it look like he is, and I've even seen some of the trailers online saying featuring Robert Downey Jr. in the movie. Like, that's obviously a selling point, but really what we're looking at here is Jon Favreau, and let's not look past Jon Favreau's acting talents. I mean, that guy can do it. I mean, truly, coming from a writer, director, and actor, you don't see those every day. So that's a rare commodity these days, a solid one anyway, coming from Hollywood. Yeah, Jon Favreau, Chef, great movie.
We get it, Tim. You love it.
Well, I'm just also trying to sell it so more people go see it.
Yeah, because you're bleeding. I got you. Now, if you don't want to watch Favreau cook, I mean, we've got your biggest blockbuster right now is X-Men Days of Future Past, which I believe, Nick, you and I have both seen.
I went and saw it twice, yeah.
Oh, you sly dog. I took my nephew to go see it, and it was pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty goddamn impressive.
It was. It truly was.
It follows a storyline I was pretty familiar with because I used to watch the cartoon.
Yeah.
But like your premise is it's in the future, and we've got Peter Dinklage playing Bolivar Trask, who is a scientist that creates sentinels that are going to destroy basically mutants. They're supposed to be defensive, but of course they take over the world, Terminator style. So they send Wolverine back in time. I won't go into details how they do that, but a good length in a good distance in the past to where he doesn't even have his adamantium anymore. So that was kind of a bummer for me. I didn't know it was going to be that far back.
Although Jay, him not having the adamantium gave us one of the best jokes of the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
Which I won't spoil.
No, yeah, like the movie had a lot of wit to it, and it was just, I thought it was perfect. The cast of characters and mutants. You get Quicksilver, which was probably the best scene in the entire movie with the prison break.
100% agree.
And, they had some good Easter egg humor there with him and Magneto.
Yeah. Yep.
What's his name again that plays Xavier, young Xavier? James McAvoy. Was a great alcoholic Xavier, just depressed.
Yeah, I 100% agree on everything, Jay. I even put on my thing on Facebook. It was very hard for me to do it, but I pretty much would have to say it's my favorite X-Men movie. It's probably it's the best
it's my
yet.
favorite one.
Yeah.
I love it. It had emotion. It was brutal. I did not expect it to. I almost felt bad taking my nephew to see it. Oh my God, I hope he's not scarred.
Well, they start right off the bat with that brutal, in that first scene. It's like, holy shit.
Well, it got even worse, second time around. People getting, ripped in half and their faces burnt off.
Exactly, yeah.
And then a particular scene with Wolverine getting, I forget what you call those things, but those
rebar.
Rebar
Yep.
things just right through them.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Which I'd read.
And they tied.
Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, I just thought they did a great job tying in the previous X-Men films that some of us love and hate. Though they did bring Nightcrawler back, I was hoping I'd see Nightcrawler just as a cool little cameo.
And then save him for the next one. Yeah.
Even just villains like Stryker and
Yep.
References to his daughter from X2, everything tied in perfectly.
His daughter or his son?
It's his daughter.
Wasn't it Jason? Making him look like a daughter in Xavier's mind.
In this movie, they made it a girl.
Did they? Okay, I thought he said Jason. My son Jason.
Yeah, in X2, I believe it was his son.
Yeah.
And then in his mind, it's a girl.
The girl, yeah.
But and of course, we already knew about the news of Apocalypse coming was going to be the next movie they were doing. So stay in your seats for that nice clip at the very end, the cool sting at the end.
See with the stinger at the end. One thing I loved about this movie is that it was a movie. It was a complete movie. It wasn't like the other Marvel ones. You know my gripes on that. How a lot of them are. They have so many loose threads in it that are like, wait till the next one. Whereas this one, I felt it was one complete movie with a stinger at the very end of the credits. That wasn't anything that if you missed it, you were going to be in the dark for the next one.
Yeah, and even like for me, I know it's a good movie when it has me on the edge of my seat when I know things are going to turn out this way. Like,
Exactly.
I still was just like, holy crap, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
How's this going to like just Jennifer Lawrence is great as Mystique as always.
Which
I think
is
she had a
funny
much
to me.
bigger role than First Class this time around.
Yeah, which is funny to me. She was so good because I was afraid she was going to phone it in because I read somewhere that she didn't want to do this one, but she was contractually obligated to do it.
That sucks. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that one of her demands was that she was wearing a suit the whole movie. I don't know if you knew that. Her makeup this time wasn't body paint. That was head to toe blue. That they still painted on it in certain spots, but like that was one of her demands now and stuff. But really let me down. But at least like I said, she didn't phone it in. At least in my opinion.
I did not realize that it was going to be Evan Peters playing Quicksilver.
Yeah.
I recognize him from Kick-Ass. I know he's also in American Horror Story, but
yep.
I hope they bring him back for the Apocalypse.
They'd have to. I mean, this one was basically setting him up. Introducing him and giving him the best scene in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I have read reviews that said that this is the best Marvel movie ever made.
It's possible. I have to
out of Marvel.
I liked it way more than in Iron Man 3. That's for sure.
More than Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Yes. I would. To me, it's Jay. To me, it's Avengers, Iron Man, and probably this one for me.
Like my top ones, I made a list not too long ago, but like I absolutely love Blade 2.
I forget about all those.
Because Guillermo del Toro kicked ass on that movie. And he's talking about apparently wanting to redo it or something, which is weird.
See, to me, I'll come out and actually say this probably, is my favorite Marvel film.
Which one?
This one, Days of Future Past. To me, I would say
the first Iron Man movie is great. I've watched that so many times.
Well, because of the experience around it is probably so memorable.
Yeah. And First Class was probably my favorite X-Men movie for a long time. X2 was close.
I love X2.
But this one's definitely my favorite X-Men film.
Yep.
And I can't say that it's the best Marvel movie yet. I'd definitely say it's better than any of the Avenger films they've done so far, including the Avengers.
Yeah, I'd put it at the top of my list probably. But like I said, it's close. I love X2, but this just edged it out just because of how well they did everything. Old
and
cast
the music
and
score
new.
is great as always. They did a great job with the music.
Well, I was excited because they were finally, like I said, able to bring that score back because it was Bryan Singer directing and the same composers. They were finally able to use, to me, what I call the X-Men theme that they got rid of after Bryan Singer left after X2. So great hearing it back,
Yeah, but other than that, like that's. I urge everyone to see that. If you have a baby, do not take the damn baby into the movie theater.
See, I had a little kid in the second viewing of mine that was far enough over on the right that I only heard him a couple times during a quiet moment. But other than that, I had 2 good experiences. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. The people that brought a baby into my theater kept it. They shut it the hell up anytime it I could after a loud scene, I just heard like a eh. And then, immediate silence, so they were suffocating it. Good parenting.
They thought they were in Legends of Oz.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, I just want to, before we move on, I only said that because I actually have a short little review up. I was curious what people were saying about Legends of Oz, and I just have 2 that I'd just like to read out here really quick, okay? These are people who have seen the movie, all right? The title of this review is... What are you people on? This movie was awful. Awful in all caps. None of my 4 children enjoyed this film, and one fell asleep. Went at 11 a.m., so he wasn't even tired, but still fell asleep. The animation seemed cheap, like a direct-to-DVD type movie. Barbie movies are even better animation than this crappy movie, and that says a lot. The songs were random and about the oddest things. The characters made no sense and interacted in a bizarrely unemotional and unconnected way. Not one character was interesting, funny, deep, layered, or anything. I didn't really recognize any of the voices or of the big name actors who voiced the parts. except for Leah Michele, who sounds exactly like she's whining or crying all the time. And of course, Martin Short as the strangest, least scary, yet most highly disturbing villain ever. Whomever is giving this 10 stars is obviously paid to give 10 stars. I recommend not seeing this in the theaters. Save your money, and if you must, rent it on Redbox for $129 or whatever.
Well, what's crazy about that is that, like, not just that the movie is terrible, but the fact that they got the people in it that they did. Like, they mentioned, they couldn't recognize the voices. But, I mean, you look at the cast, they got, Dan Aykroyd, Martin Short, Oliver Platt, Patrick Stewart, Kelsey Grammer.
Like they just, they definitely, blackmailed these actors to be in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the best part of the review is the last sentence. It says, one of the worst kid movies I've ever seen in a long time, and I've seen them all.
Nah.
So, that's pretty bad.
Summary of a review says it's a cynical cash grab riding on the coattails of a far better production, which it's not grabbing any cash right now.
Of course not, as I know.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that. I was going to read another one, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. So don't go see it, folks. Legend of Oz.
Or go see it, because then it'll give me money.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? All right, so can we move on to what we got coming up? Unless there's any other movies anybody went to go see. $1 Million Arm? Anything?
No, we got to wrap things up in a bit.
Well, let's just do this. Let's move on and at least talk about what we got coming up this next week.
All right, this next weekend should be a good one. Where's that? Here it is. Next weekend, Tim, you have Maleficent, and that goes against my film, A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Both of us, Nick, are going to be in the dust for a few weeks. I feel like both those movies will come back and even out. Can you tell me what the budget on Maleficent is?
Yeah, give me a second.
How about both of them? Give me the budget on both of them.
All right.
I'll be seeing both of those as well.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Let's see. Maleficent's budget, if it's on here yet, which it should be. It's Disney, and they don't usually release it. Maleficent is $180 million.
Okay.
That's a shitload.
And they've been doing a ton of marketing, so we'll see how that plays out.
And,
but like I said, you're not going to get it right up front.
And A Million Ways to Die in the West. I don't see it on here. Let me check another place.
I'm going to guess, let's see, Seth MacFarlane, huh? Another Ted type of production. Just let's see what the production was for Ted. I'm sure it's slightly higher than that.
Real quick, did you say the budget for Maleficent?
Yeah,
160.
160, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say it's got to be at least 100,000, or
160.
100 million. I mean,
for what, Maleficent?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it for A Million Ways, but I'm sure it'll be up by the weekend.
That should be under 100 million.
I'm going to see what Ted was, because I'm guessing it's slightly higher than Ted.
See, I would say the opposite. Ted had all the digital effects for the actual bear.
Are you kidding me, though? But how many there's got to be a ton of special effects in this movie, with all the people dying and whatnot.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's a lot easier to have someone just jump off screen and digitally make it so it looks like he gets hit by a ball.
Here's what I think we can say. The budget for Ted was $50 million. I think what you're going to see here is $100 million or less. That's probably what he was given to make the movie. I'd be shocked if it was over $100 million. And again, I haven't seen the movie. I've definitely seen the trailers, and it does look like there's going to be quite a bit of CG work involved.
I mean, it'd definitely be more because there's more A-list actors in this.
Yeah, that's true, too. So 100 million or less, I don't know. That's my guess. But with that said, like I said, Nick, I think right off the bat we're going to be sitting in the dust while we wait a couple weeks to catch up.
Well, my only thing is I feel like it should do well at least for a bit, because Neighbors has been out for a few weeks and there really is no more comedy until a few weeks after this for 22 Jump Street. So I think it's going to grab that comedy market. I mean, Blended obviously didn't.
That's true. When does 22 Jump Street come out?
That comes out 2 weeks from now, I believe.
Because I think you're going to have a lot harder time getting an audience for Seth MacFarlane's movie once 22 comes out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it comes out June 13th, so 2 weeks. So I'll have a good solid 2 weeks for this movie before it starts really getting hit, I think.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so that's next week, huh? We got only 2 movies, right?
Yeah, you and I round out the month of May.
And then Jay just continues to make more money with Neighbors, and that's
X-Men.
And X-Men, yeah. Yep, it's definitely going to be getting closer to balancing out next week, X-Men, with all this great word of mouth. Man, that's going to be great. So let's quickly dive into the TV talk. Quick, what do we got? What do we got, guys?
For television, nothing. I've got movie talk.
Okay, what do we got?
Hannibal finished season 2, which was amazing.
It was.
Fargo,
yep.
I don't know how much we have left of Fargo, but that's going really good.
For Fargo, I think it's 3 or 4 episodes.
It's got to be getting down there.
I think it's 3.
I agree with
only
your
10.
last...
So if Fargo gets another season, it's got to be a different story, right? It cannot be that same...
No, yeah, it's True Detective. It's a different thing every season.
Speaking of True Detective, I don't know if we talked about before, but Brad Pitt greenlit for next season of True Detective.
That's awesome.
Christian Bale's it's going to be set in California and revolve around 3 main characters.
Yep, I believe with some sort of underground transportation system, something along those lines. So I'm expecting good things from that, but that's not for a little while yet. But I think, what else we got? We got Fargo. We got Louis, of course, as always, is doing his thing.
I'm behind on that one.
Silicon Valley. We got only one more episode left of Silicon Valley, but of course that's greenlit.
Sad.
It's greenlit for another season, which I'm sure they've ordered even more episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to also shout out to that YouTube show I just started watching. What was it, Tim? That Comedy Central one? This Isn't Happening.
Oh, yeah, you're talking on College Humor. What it is it's a show where comedians get up and tell... rather than stand-up sets, it's they tell stories, right?
It's Comedy Central, though, I think. I don't think it's College Humor.
Did I say College Humor?
Yeah.
I mean, Comedy Central. It's comedians. They get on stage. Rather than doing bits, they're just riffing stories of things that happened to them about, things that people can't believe would happen to anybody, and they're just riffing on it, and it's a fun little show online. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff all around.
Other than that, I'm not watching anything else on TV.
All right. Well, it looks like we got some movies to look forward to, guys. May the draft continue, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nice talking to you, Phyllis.
See you
later.
Oh, you're just ending it there, huh? Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.
That's up to you guys.
Screw it. Goodbye.
Well, just cut the show. Just cut the show short mid-sentence.